Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fatman and Robyn podcast. My name is Marcus Stevens, represented as the Fat Man. Uh, Robyn's not here right now. Robyn is doing a group project, and she's been pretty busy lately. So I'm taking this opportunity to have a solo dolo episode, first ever solo episode, and let's talk about something I want to talk about, and that is Wrestlemania. WrestleMania just ended yesterday, actually, when we're recording this. So unfortunately, this won't be able to react. This episode won't be reacting to either Raw or NXT, depending on what happens on those episodes Monday and Tuesday. But this is all about WrestleMania 37 back in business, right? So this is the first WrestleMania after or during, I guess, because we're not really out of the pandemic just yet. But this is, you know, after last year's WrestleMania, where of course we know was pre-taped, was in the performance center, had no fans, and they didn't even upgrade to where they had people like in the audience. Where after the performance center days, but they didn't have nobody in attendance. So this is the first WrestleMania in front of fans. They had 25,000 allegedly each night, which I think is like 25% of what Raymond James Stadium could hold. I'm glad also Tampa Bay got their own WrestleMania after last year again losing it. Um, I'm glad that the pirate theme was there, but unfortunately there was nobody to be a pirate. So I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm glad that it was time for the pirate theme came back, and unfortunately Kyrie missed it. If Kyrie had just if the pandemic was just this year instead of last year, sorry, interruptions plenty. But Kyrie missed it by a year. The pandemic was just this year, and WrestleMania was last year. I'm sure Kyrie would have got a good big entrance for being a pirate. But anyway, let's get to it. WrestleMania, April 10th, April 11th, a two-night event, which of course taking the New Japan route, which Wrestle Kingdom has been doing 2 nights, which has been really helpful. Um, there's pros and cons. Obviously, the pro is that you get more people on both shows. The con is I think there's less big moments. Like I was really like for New Japan. Let's say talk about that. I was really looking forward to like Will Ospreay and Okada, their match at Wrestle Kingdom this past year, night one. But I felt like nothing on night two for me was on that level of like anticipation. I knew Kota Ibushi was going to beat Jay White night two. Like that was just you're not going to have Kota win the first night and then lose the second night. It wouldn't make sense. So the anticipation, the kind of like shock value of it was gone. So I didn't feel like night two did that, and I kind of feel like well this way WrestleMania did a great way, great stuff, great thing with that. But let's talk about it first off. WrestleMania this year was fantastic. A solid 8.5 out of 10 overall. Night one was filled with amazing matches. There were 7 matches on each card. Night one had one like kind of dud, but the rest of the matches, and not even the dud, it was okay. Everything else on that card was either good, great, or amazing, and we'll talk about that. And night two kind of just night two felt more like a regular WWE show, even though it was at WrestleMania. There were some good matches, yes, but moreover, it felt like a normal show. I think WrestleMania 31, 37, part one, the night one, had the feeling of being something new, being the first show in front of a live crowd like that for WWE in a while. Of course, we know NXT has had fans, in the low rafters, whatever. But this is actually ticketed fans. This is a big stadium. It had pyro. It had a big feel for just the 6 plus hours that you're watching both nights. It was like a sense of normal had returned. Um, but yeah, it was a great show. They no Hulk Hogan got booed, which was hilarious to me because as people say, people don't forget because we don't forgive at all. But I'm not going to go into that. If you want to boo him. He's not a great human being. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying forgiveness is out there. But man, both shows, good stuff. Surprising ending to WrestleMania Night Two. Uh, but we'll talk. We're gonna do. And for those who don't like wrestling, I'm sorry. The whole episode is going to be me talking about wrestling, and I really apologize if you don't like it. But maybe if you do, maybe if you're not a wrestling fan, maybe you can listen to something that's going on and maybe kind of relate, or maybe just be like, oh, wrestling is that's what's going on in wrestling right now. But we're going to do a ranking of all 14 matches from both nights, from the worst to the best. and just talk about each one in between, and talk about what we're looking about for the future in professional wrestling. This won't be a long episode, but let's go ahead and get right into it. So, 14 matches. The worst match at WrestleMania 37, which I think everybody can agree, was Randy Orton versus The Fiend. Now, I already was not looking forward to this match because, first of all, this feud has been going on way too long. Second of all, Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt have just never had that chemistry. Bray had it with Cena. I think Bray and Cena had a great rivalry, and I was really looking forward to their match last year in the ring, which would have been, uh, Bray's redemption against Cena, and I was looking forward to this year because this was going to be Bray's redemption against Orton, but of course he didn't get it. So first, let's talk about the length of the match. 6 minutes, if that, 6 minutes or under, and it was the opening contest for the night. When you talk about being an opening match, that's not like that. It's compared to night one's opening match, which was McIntyre and Lashley, which we're going to talk about much later in this list. It sucked the air out of the building already. And it was the first match. 5 minutes, and then the ending was so confusing. So they had this big Jack in the Box, which the Fiend rose out from, which was pretty cool. But I kind of wish that he actually made the stroll down the aisle with the blinking lights and the "Let Me In" thing going on, the Heroes theme song. But it started off hot. The Fiend jumped right off the top of the box, hit Orton. They wrestled a little bit, and then at the finish came. Alexa Bliss had like this crown on, and it just started gushing black ooze down her face. And then the Fiend gets distracted. One RKO, 1, 2, 3, match is over. When you talk about what the Fiend has done, and now it makes sense storyline wise if Alexa is his weakness. Now Bray Wyatt today posted a picture on his Instagram and Twitter of Samson and Delilah, which is the story of Samson getting his hair cut by Delilah and that he's losing his power. So maybe that's going to be the storyline reason. But when you're in the arena at the time, this is supposed to be the payoff. You don't add on more. This is supposed to be the payoff. This is a fresh start, and it just didn't feel like it. It was just like, oh, we got more of this. So unless Balor, or excuse me, at least Bliss is the heel now, she cost Bray Wyatt the match. I don't know how this is going to go in the long run, but it was definitely the worst match at WrestleMania. I knew it going forward. This would be the worst match in the card. Again, they don't have that chemistry. The WrestleMania 33 match is anything to be reminded of, and Orton got the win. He did not need it. I really wanted Fiend to get his win back, but now I guess he's done with that feud. We'll find out, I guess, tonight. That's probably my biggest question: what's going on? All right, so number 13, the tag team turmoil on night one, which featured five teams battling for an opportunity to become the number one contenders for the WWE tag team titles, women's tag titles. And this one was was very weird. I'm not going to say it was a bad match, but there were a lot of botches. Of course, the funniest thing that happened was Mandy Rose slipped on the entranceway coming down, and I'm glad she was okay, and then she laughed at herself as well, like afterwards. But it was an okay match. I felt like because there was an odd number of teams, there were five teams. I thought they were going to add another team, something like a mix up between Charlotte, Bayley, or rumored Becky Lynch, who was trolling everybody on Twitter and stuff. But like I feel like it was supposed to be a 6 team, like either them or the Bella twins. But I guess maybe the Bellas aren't ring ready yet. They both are basically became mothers again as well. Excuse me. Brie became a mother a second time, and then he became a mother. So they probably weren't in like ring shape, just to say. So they probably didn't want to wrestle on the first time again in that front of a big audience, with the mom bodies, whatever. I don't get it. I understand, but I thought that they were going to get that moment. They were going to come out and be the last team, and then face Nia and Shayna and win, have the WrestleMania moment, maybe have a 1-day reign, But that didn't happen. So what we got was just Natalya and Tamina winning, which was strange because Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan would have kind of the crowd favorites. Everybody was behind Liv and Ruby, and obviously, of course, you're behind them. I'm behind them because I felt like they formed, like late. They formed in 2020, and that was supposed to be with the whole combination should have been a title run, and they lose. They're the last team eliminated. Natalya and Tamina got advanced, and like I said, nothing really wrong with the match. It just wasn't really that great. It was okay, solid 6 out of 10 match. There was, like I said, a lot of botches, little messy, but I really felt like they were going to give it to Liv and to Ruby, and they didn't. Again, it doesn't have a demeaning. It doesn't diminish the actual match. I think Tamina was definitely more than deserving. I was really looking forward to Tamina actually finally winning a championship in WWE after being employed for like 12, 13 years, but that didn't happen. But we'll talk about that match later. All right, number 12, AJ Styles and Omos versus the New Day. This became just a match of the New Day cutting the ring off effectively, beating up AJ so he would not get tagged into Omos. And then once Omos got the tag, he cleared house. He instantly destroyed them, which was expected. This match was only, let's be honest, it was only done to give AJ that tag title reign, which he desperately needed. So he become not only a Triple Crown champion, but now a Grand Slam champion. So yes, AJ Styles is now a Grand Slam champion in WWE. A little after 5 years after his WrestleMania debut, and his sixth WrestleMania. So he is a Grand Slam champion. Him and Omos are running the show. I don't know what the tag division looks like on Raw besides them and New Day. Of course, Hurt Business is broken up. Retribution is broken up. With Riddle losing the U.S. Championship last night, we'll talk about it in a little bit. Maybe Riddle and Keith Lee will team up and become a tag team. I feel like that would be a good team to actually be the ones that beat AJ and Omos, but we'll see in a few weeks, a few months or so, whenever it happens. We'll actually probably find out a lot tonight for new challengers and things they're going to be doing. Like I said, it wasn't really a match. It was more a showcase. Of course, you knew once Omos came in, he was going to wreck house, and he did that, and he looked good in his win. Shout out for him for doing a tribute to DMX. His outfit, and not only his outfit, but he did the X at the ramp. Great. AJ almost slipped on the ramp as well, which is fun. Was funny. But again, this whole match was for two things. When New Day beat the Hurt Business, I already knew it's going to be a quick title change. They don't need the titles, but he did two things effectively. You gave almost his debut, and he made him look like a strong beast. And then two, you also gave AJ Styles the Grand Slam championship, so he has that accolade, and he's already adding on to his Hall of Fame. He's already a Hall of Famer, like in terms of wrestling, but now he's adding on to his WWE Hall of Fame career. So two birds, one stone. All right, number 11, Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon in the steel cage. It was fine for what it was. I wasn't looking forward to this match on the card because I don't care about either one. Like this feud came out of nowhere. I like Braun Strowman. He has a good look, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be next in line for a championship match. And this is obviously, again, you have Shane on the card to do one thing, to take a big spot. And what happens? He gets thrown off the top of the cage, like swanton dive off the top of the cage onto the ground. It looked brutal. It looked like it hurt, but that was for the whole reason for the match. Braun got the win, of course. He better got the win. You know, the thing about Shane McMahon, Shane's not coming to WrestleMania to really win. Yeah, him and Bryant won when they beat Owens and Zayn, but when he lost to Undertaker, he lost. He lost to AJ few years before. He did beat Miz. So I guess he's off and on. But Shane was there to take the spot, and that's what he did, which was to take the dangerous bump, get thrown off, and get hurt. That's what he's there for this year, and he did it. He message fulfilled. So next, I think Braun is going to be definitely up next to face Lashley after Lashley retained. So that's going to be a Raw feud, probably for WrestleMania Backlash. Probably like Braun, maybe just do triple threat. Triple threats are popular. Braun, Lashley, and Drew should be pretty fun. All right, number 10 for me was Nia into I said, see, my whole list is messed up. It's Tamina and Natalya were challenging Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the tag team championships. First of all, this match went 15 minutes on the second match of the night, which was kind of weird because people were already kind of like down the dumps of night two after seeing Orton and the Fiend, which was the first bad decision I think that WWE has made with fans since the pandemic, right? This went 15 minutes, but the one thing about it, the fans actually got into it. They were actually giving Tamina her roses, her flowers now, and they were chanting for her, like going to Tamina. And I was like, okay, they're going to put her the trigger. You know, this is the WrestleMania feel good story, right? Incorrect. So Tamina, Natalya got tapped out by Shayna Baszler. or just put to sleep, and that was it. I mean, it was a fine match. I think that would have been, if that was on Raw, that would have been a great match. But it was all great workers. Tamina and Natalya don't get enough credit, and I really hope a tag title run is in their future. But Shayna and Nia are really just becoming a dominant team, such a great, amazing, just tag team. And with I don't know where Rhea is at in terms of heel or face, but Rhea's going to need challengers, and she's definitely going to need someone like Shayna, who she's already had faced before. And then of course you have to do Rhea versus Nia versus one day. So I don't think their tag title reign is going to last much longer. And if Asuka's going to take some time off, I mean, she kind of on Twitter, she kind of put like, thank you for everything. So maybe she's taking some time off, much deserved. She's been an MVP of the pandemic era, along with Drew and Sasha and Bailey. So she's taking a little bit of time off. That's definitely to be expected. All right, number 9 was Big E versus Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental Championship in a Nigerian drum fight. Too short. The match is too short. That's my biggest complaint. But it was good for what was there. I just felt like they deserved another 10 minutes. I feel like most like that match and the Zayn and Owens match deserved 10 minutes, while the tag title match didn't need that much time. And that's not because of it being a women. I love the women matches at WrestleMania, but because there wasn't no build. I feel like this was a kind of, it wasn't really a blow off, because they're definitely going to see them fight again on WrestleMania Backlash. But I don't know. They didn't. And then somebody pointed out online that they did not use any drums. Like, that's the point of the match. It's just a Nigerian drum match. You needed to use the drums. You didn't do it. So, but it was a good match. That particularly nasty spot was a Uranagi from Big E onto Cruz onto the ring steps on the outside. That looked very painful. But the finish came. Big E was about to put him away with the big ending. Here comes Dabba-Kato from Raw Underground, dressed in like a commander's out shirt thingy. He came out, beat him up, chokeslammed him, hit him with a good to see that this moment Spike is back. I hope that's his finish going forward. And then hit a choke slam, put Apollo on top of Big E's body. 1, 2, 3. Apollo Crews is now the Intercontinental Champion. It's kind of hard to believe that, beginning of 2020, Apollo Crews was afterthought. And now he's not only been U.S. champion last year, he's been Intercontinental Champion now. Being a heel is best for business in WWE. Sometimes, you get that, especially now. You get that kind of new edge, and I like Apollo Crews. I always like Apollo. I just, he should have stayed in NXT a little bit longer, but I guess they had a need for him on the main roster. But good for Cruz. I'm interested in seeing this pairing, because if this is going to be Dabba-Kato's or his new, whatever his new name is, his launching pad, I'm happy to see that, because he's a big guy. So he's going to be what almost as an AJ on SmackDown. So that's all good. And then they can eventually, you got to put those two together. One day that's going to be a future big man match. So number 8, you have Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. This was one of my most anticipated matches in WrestleMania, because you know what these two can do. When I think about, their best match, I don't even think about, NXT TakeOver, which was a good match, but I think about that Battleground match from 2016 where they went at it. These two just had one of the best matches I've seen, like, on WWE at that time. It was such a great match. That's what I was hoping for, but unfortunately they got like 10 minutes less at WrestleMania. It was like a 10-minute match. And it was still really good. It's really good for what it was. It just could have been more. So Owens gets the win with the stunner, but they really went at it, doing a lot of moves that you don't see them doing unless it's a big match. Owens doing the top rope superplex that he did to Cena back at Elimination Chamber 2015. Hard to believe that was 6 years ago, man. He did that, Zayn doing the half and half suplex. They really went all out. And then of course the best moment of the whole segment was the stunner to Logan Paul. I think everybody was very unanimous. Logan Paul was getting Logan Paul sucks chance. It was a great moment, and he sold it like a champ. So good on Logan Paul for doing that. But I feel like this match could have got much more time. I hope and pray that this is leading to Owens and Zayn teaming up. And if you talk about somebody who hasn't had a tag title reign, it's Kevin Owens. I don't know if they're counting the Universal Championship as a substitute for the WWE title in terms of Triple Crown or Grand Slam champions, but this is the only championship he needs to get to, if that's the case. But he needs a SmackDown title, tag title. So I feel like him and Zayn will be a great team. It's finally time do something with them. Number 7 was Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. Another one of the most anticipated matches because this is the first time meeting between these two ladies. When I think of NXT Women's Champions, actually, it's already a short list anyway. But Asuka is probably the most dominant, where I feel like Rhea put the NXT Women's Championship on the map because Asuka, obviously, longest reigning single reign. And Rhea defended the title at WrestleMania. Yes, I know it's the pandemic at WrestleMania last year, but she still, even still, the buildup was with fans. Like they anticipated her and to be in front of people defending against Charlotte. So, give her props. But I was very excited to see that Rhea is what won. It was a kind of like an abrupt ending because it was a one finisher to Asuka, and that was it. Boom, it was over. But it was a good match for what it was. I enjoyed it. It was very hard hitting. The DDT from Asuka to the outside off the apron was vicious. Really nasty spot. And again, if Asuka's taking time off for this, we really appreciate Asuka, everything she's done since the early 2020, being an MVP of the pandemic era. Her feud with Sasha and Bayley, her partnership with Kairi Sane, it was all good stuff. Like it was fantastic. So she's taking time off. I'm all for it. I'm happy that Asuka's getting her shot. But it was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the match. I'm glad Rhea's champion. This is just the new era of women's wrestling coming out. All right, number 5. We're in the top 5. Actually, I'm sorry. It's number 6. We're not there just yet. I'm sorry. I skipped ahead because I can't forget this match. Number 6 was Riddle versus Sheamus for the United States Championship. These guys probably had one of the best matches of night 2. Probably. If I'm looking at my list now, it's the second best match from night 2. These guys just fought. This was a hard-hitting affair, just nasty, a lot of kicks, a lot of knees, just a nasty affair. I was like, I'm probably not going to watch this because they just wrestled on Raw a few weeks ago, but they whooped each other's ass, and it was fantastic. And of course, you have to talk about that finish. Matt Riddle jumping off the rope, doing a moonsault, gets caught midair right to the face. Like he actually got it with the brogue. 1, 2, 3. Sheamus is the new United States champion. His 3rd reign with the championship. That was a sick finish. It's a sick match. And then Walter on Twitter said, fantastic fight. And fans have been like, oh, we need Walter and Sheamus. That would be fantastic. WrestleMania surprises. It's a Raw after WrestleMania. Who knows? That was a nasty match. Really good, hard-hitting match. Sheamus as U.S. champion is kind of weird because I don't think there's a lot of faces on Raw. Ricochet, I would love to see Sheamus and Ricochet. Maybe Sheamus and Keith Lee. Maybe Keith Lee will come back tonight, hopefully. Hopefully he's medically clear. And then, of course, Damian Priest. So I think Damian Priest may be his first. That's going to be a good match, too. It might be his first feud. But that was a good match. I sort of kind of like just put at the last minute type of match. But it was really good anyway. All right, so now we're in the top 5. Very surprising. This match was really good for night 1. Miz Morrison versus Bad Bunny and Damian Priest was, first of all, this is the penultimate match of night 1. So this is the lead into the main event. And wow, Bad Bunny did his thing. Randy Orton said on the bump, they asked him about the Fiend. He said, I don't talk about the Fiend. He probably didn't want to talk about it because he knew the finish was so crap. But man, he said Bad Bunny is now a WWE superstar. And of course, Bad Bunny is going, they said he's done now. For now, he's a celebrity. He's got his own music. He's a Grammy Award winner. You can't alienate all of his time. But that was a fantastic performance. One of the best matches of night 1. Probably the 3rd best match. Yeah, according to my list, it's the 3rd best match. Fantastic contest. Bad Bunny hitting the effing destroyer on the outside to Morrison. Come on, him and Pat McAfee are the 2 top celebrities that they've ever had, and it ran around the right amount of time. Bad Bunny getting enough beat on, but then he comes back at the end. He did a great job. I want to see more Bad Bunny in WWE, and usually it's the fans who make the best wrestlers because they actually care about the craft. They want to do the best they can, and he did his best, and that was fantastic. So good on you, Bad Bunny. And also kudos to Miz and Morrison because you have to have great villains to be a good hero, and they get a great job of beating down Bad Bunny, playing to the crowd in Tampa Bay. So, and of course, Damian Priest is an effing star. I love Damian Priest. All right, number 4, Seth Rollins versus Cesaro, which was definitely one of my most look forward to matches as well as I'm sure all the fans out there as well. This delivered. They started fast and did not. I think it only went like 13 to 15 minutes, but they used every second they had efficiently. Just it was a sick match, and then all the spins that he did to Rollins, the first swing, then he did the UFO on his neck. That was sick, and then another spin into the neutralizer, and Cesaro gets his WrestleMania victory. And I'm sorry, Bunny and Baby Priest did win the last match, but Cesaro getting his WrestleMania victory, and with how things are looking on SmackDown, he may be the next one in line for Roman Reigns, and that's very exciting news. Cesaro has been a guy who should have had the ball a long time ago, and they're finally putting the ball in his court. I hope that he knocks it out of the park. I really hope that he gets that slam dunk, and I really hope to see Reigns versus Cesaro at WrestleMania Backlash. All right, number 3, Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, night 1. This was the opening match, which I kind of expected. I kind of a few weeks ago when they were talking about, McIntyre, Lashley, and Belair and Banks were going to be on the same night. I knew one had to open, one had to close. That's what they should have did on the other side as well, but whatever. I think Rhea and Asuka would have got a better reaction if it went first instead of Fiend and Orton sucking the air out the building. But this was their best match together. Their match at Backlash was pretty good last year, but this match was a big hoss match. These boys went at it. McIntyre doing the flip over the top rope, just all the spine busters, all the heavy hits. This was a great match. Of course, many fans speculated that Lashley just became champion, so McIntyre could beat a big villain at WrestleMania. He should have got his moment last year, but it wasn't meant to be. And I was probably the biggest shock of night 1 for me, maybe of all WrestleMania, was Bobby Lashley getting the Hurt Lock in, and McIntyre did not have anywhere to go. Referee checked the hand, called it. That means Bobby Lashley retains the championship. Holy crap. Bobby Lashley, the first African-American WWE champion to walk into WrestleMania as champion and walk out as champion as well. Rock did it in WrestleMania 2000. He walked in champion, didn't walk out. So, I'm sorry. He wasn't champion at all. He walked in WrestleMania 15 as champion and did not walk out as champion. Sorry. And then 17 did the same thing. So Lashley is the first man to walk in as champion, walk out as champion. So wow, good stuff. Great match. I'm really looking forward to Lashley's era on Raw. He has a lot of people he can face. Again, I've already said Braun Strowman, Damian Priest, of course, Keith Lee. You have all 3 of those guys. Of course, McIntyre is going to stay around at the top of the food chain there. But man, that was a fantastic way to open up WrestleMania with fans, and the fans were into it the whole way. Number 2 was the main event for night 2, which was highly anticipated Edge versus Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan in the main event for the Universal Championship. The match that had the most story attached to it. The match that this is the WrestleMania main event in terms of just how far these guys have come. You have Edge, who retired 10 years to the date of yesterday of his main event. You had Daniel Bryan, who retired, came back. You had Roman Reigns, who had leukemia, fought back from that. And all these guys in the main event of WrestleMania after beating all of these afflictions. That's amazing. That's amazing. And these guys did not disappoint. The most time, I think this is the longest WrestleMania match as well. I think I went 22 minutes. And these guys used their time. It was a fantastic edge of your seat main event. These two, all 3 of them just went at it. Love the spot where Reigns power bombs Bryan through the table, only to get he's standing on top of the stairs, only to get speared by Edge. The double submission on Reigns, and then Reigns kind of slightly tapping out a little bit. That was fantastic. And then of course the Edge snapping, almost winning the championship, but then Bryan pulls the referee out the ring, and then he has to try and use the concerto. Hit the concerto onto Bryan. Reigns Uso comes in, beats up Edge. Reigns hits a spear, concerto to Edge. He puts them both on each other and pins them both. 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns retains in the main event of WrestleMania. Plain spoiler that Brock Lesnar did 3 years ago to him when Reigns should have won that match. I really thought Edge had this match won. I thought this was his time. Had to get that one last title reign. But no. And Edge now has the unfortunate accolade that he's now won a Royal Rumble twice, and he's not cashed in on either one of those championship opportunities, unfortunately. People like HBK, Stone Cold, Batista, Orton, they've all lost one, but they also have won another one. So they won another opportunity. So man, what a main event. Now that Reigns is still up top of the food chain. Again, you have Cesaro, that I think is the hottest guy on SmackDown now. So I feel like that's a natural matchup. If Edge stays on SmackDown, Seth Rollins is on SmackDown. That caters back to a previous feud with him and Cena and all that, him holding him hostage, getting the authority back in line. So you have that. I don't know where Daniel Bryan goes from here. Cruz is an Intercontinental Champion. I'd like to see Bryan and Cruz one day. Of course, you still have Big E, so maybe Big E and Reigns is a thing in the future. But between Big E and Cesaro, those are the two guys who I think who should end the reign now that Edge and Bryan didn't do it. And number one, that I think is the best match of this year's WrestleMania, and it's more. And let's talk about it first. Bianca Belair challenging Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship, main event of night one. Already so much history. Of course, this is the first time two women have solo main event, one-on-one match. Two African American women. We're talking about representation. Man, just so much history. And two NXT alumni main eventing WrestleMania together. Great stuff. Once this match was announced, I felt like this could have been the main event. Once they announced this match and they announced WrestleMania was 2 nights, I always thought Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks had the shot of main eventing night one, and they pulled the trigger. And that moment of when they're first in the ring and the bell rings, and you can see them both looking at each other in the crowd, it all hits at one moment. You can see Bianca's like holding back tears, and it hit me. It's like, man. Because again, you have to think about all that they've gone through the whole pandemic. You had to think about just everything these two women had fought for that moment right there. Not only to be women main eventing WrestleMania, having the first solo match, but being the two first Black women, and how that representation can affect another generation. It was amazing. And then let's talk about all the history. The match itself was fantastic. Both WrestleManias, night one and night two, those main events, you can put them up against the last 10 WrestleMania main events. It sits up there at being that damn good. These two ladies went at it just all wholeheartedly. The dive by Sasha to the outside for Bianca to pick her up, carry her, gorilla press her into the ring after walking the steps. Oh, so good. The bank statement, in the bank statement, Bianca does the double flip into the ropes. Was fantastic. And of course, I'm so glad they did not forget about the hair whip that Bianca did. But this time, hit to Sasha, and Sasha just, man, it took a gnarly whip, hits her into the KOD, 1, 2, 3. No, did she kick out? No, Michael Cole blew the call, but that's okay, Michael. We get it. Bianca gets the victory and is the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Gets a little celebration. They didn't do too much, obviously, because WrestleMania night one, I didn't mention, was delayed by a half hour, so they didn't give her too much of a celebration. But then Montez Ford, eventually, you saw online, came out with his wife celebrating. Her dad almost jumped over the barricade, which was hilarious. I just think it was a WrestleMania moment. And everything of this whole 14 matches, that was the best moment of the night. And I generally welled up inside. I was just like, wow, I'm so glad that she actually won. She's one of those few who did not win the NXT Women's Championship. Her and Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, who are big stars now, didn't win that title, but to get her first championship victory in the main event against another trailblazer in the women's division. Great stuff. And of course, you look at all the women divisions across WWE. So you have Rhea Ripley as Raw Women's Champion. You have Raquel Gonzalez as NXT Women's Champion. And now you have Bianca Belair as SmackDown Women's Champion. The landscape has completely changed on all shows. As for who Bianca probably face first, well, Bianca and Sasha should probably main event a Backlash night of WrestleMania Backlash. Give them an Iron Man. Give them 30 minutes to do what they do. That would be a great main event. After that, you have Carmella on the brand. I don't even know who else is on SmackDown in terms of women. I guess Bayley would have to definitely be back into the picture eventually. But I mean, if they want to do a call up, Io Shirai's not doing anything. She just lost, so I feel like Io would go to SmackDown. Bianca and Io would be interesting. But yeah, we'll go from there. But Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks was the best match at WrestleMania 37 for both nights. Looking forward to Raw tonight, which is the post WrestleMania Raw, which is not. It's back to the performance, back to the Thunderdome for now until we get live fans. I don't know. Of course, you always look to the takeovers before to see, if somebody's coming up. Balor just lost a championship. Is he going back to the main roster? I hope not. Adam Cole just got annihilated. Is he coming to the main roster by himself? God, I hope not. He would not last. You have somebody like, Dexter Lumis, or you have Bronson Reed, these guys Bronson Reed's a guy I think Vince would be like, let's use him and ruin him. So you never know. And of course, Io Shirai. Is she going to be coming to the main roster, either Raw or SmackDown? So those are all questions. And they have not announced anything. It's already 5 o'clock my time. And they have barely announced anything for Raw, which is fine. I'm just looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. Of course, I'm looking forward to seeing Lashley and people from like Braun Strowman and things like that who are definitely going to be like, hey, I won a WrestleMania, you won, let's wrestle for the championship. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to set up the next challenger. And just if they're going to do a shakeup, are they going to bring anybody from Raw to SmackDown? I think Drew should go to SmackDown now. Drew McIntyre has done everything he can do with the WWE Championship. I think him and Reigns would be a mega match. I think they could probably like just hold off until SummerSlam until they get fans again. If they want to have Reigns have a longer title reign, I can see him beating Cesaro and Big E for the next 4 months, and then doing McIntyre and Reigns at SummerSlam. That's a hell of a main event. They did a great job at the Survivor Series. So, yep. WrestleMania in a total. That's it for me. I'm done. I've already talked for 30 minutes about wrestling. I just wanted to get an episode out for this Wednesday for you guys. But if you like the Fat Man Around podcast, why don't you listen to us on all the podcast channels? So we're talking about Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Deezers, Overcast, Pandora, anywhere you get a podcast. Make sure to type in Fat Man and Robyn with the Y, because my wife is fancy. Also look for us on YouTube, like, share, subscribe to all the videos, and just give us a comment. What do you think about WrestleMania if you're a wrestling fan? What did you learn about me as a wrestling fan if you're not a wrestling fan and you listen to this whole 30-minute tirade of me talking about wrestling? Let me know in the comments below. But as for representing, I am Marcus Stephen, represented as the Fat Man, and Robyn is the Robyn. We'll see you again next week for another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening.